Hey there, and welcome to Undoing We, Divorce and Life Conversations on WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, radio, podcast, and TV. I'm your host, Mardi Winder Adams. I'm a divorce coach, a mediator, and someone who's been through exactly what you're going through. This show is all about helping you get through the tough stuff, the overwhelm of divorce, the what now moments, and the messiness of trying to rebuild your life. We're going to talk about real life challenges, share expert advice, and give you practical tools you can use to move forward with your life. Are you ready to start shifting from we to me? Grab a coffee, sit back, and let's get started. Hello. And sometimes I am so fortunate I get to interview the most amazing and uplifting people. And divorce can be a time when we really don't think about creativity and joy and doing things that really make us feel good. But this is such a critical part of navigating this and coming out the other side of the process, feeling good and strong and grounded and fully into the person that you're going to be, because you're going to be different every time you go through a life transition. So I want to introduce you to my guest really briefly. Jenny Eleanora is a creative empowerment coach and musician, and she's dedicated to helping women over 50 rediscover their voices and their creative dreams. And her goal is really to help people reclaim your creative power. Jenny has gone through her own challenges, including a divorce. And she was one of those people who, like a lot of us, kind of came into this later in life and really started her first solo project at 50. She has written and produced over 30 original songs, and she was recognized as Vermont's Tammy Award winner for Best Rock Album. So without any further ado, I just want to jump into this really uplifting conversation with Jenny, and then I'm going to chat about some tips and pointers that I think are important on the other side.
It's a matter of personal experience first and foremost. Is that, I guess you could say that the first half of my life, more than half of my life, was one of very little joy and very much depression and anxiety. And up until the time when I got a divorce and was in the middle of getting a divorce, and then through creativity and through having a creative champion who helped me to feel more confident about sharing my creative voice, joy started to grow in my life to the point where now it's quite a factor. It fuels me. I have lots of it, and I'm giving it now too. So.
And you mentioned a term there that I bet you nobody else has heard, and that's creative champion. What is a creative champion?
Yeah, so I think that I got it from Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way, although I can't specifically remember if that was a phrase she used. I know she uses the phrase creative monsters. And those are people and or situations that like stifle us creatively or put us down or, make us believe, and we all have so many of them within our culture, make us believe that we are not valuable creatively. And phrases like, I'm not creative, come out of that, right?
Right.
And the fact is that we are all creative, and every single one of us needs at least a couple of people to be a creative champion for us and to support us in being the full creative beings that we are, whether we're choosing to express that through art, which is the classic example,
Sure.
or whether we're choosing to express it through whatever else we do. That could be caregiving. For me, I started most recently, it was starting a business. That was a very creative endeavor for me that is actually even more powerful creatively for me than even writing my own albums was. So, or being in bands,
Right.
So yeah. So yes, we all need that to open ourselves up. That is the road to being whole and being able to experience a full level of joy. So yeah, before we're adults, we have taken in a lot of messages about creativity and play. Most mostly being that they are after the things that we do after we are done with our work and our responsibilities. Um, there is some falseness to that either or. There is some non-humanity going
Yeah,
on within that either or situation. It's probably one of the bases for a lot of the inhumane things that go on in the world and in our societies. So yeah, what our job is, I guess I could say, once we recognize that, is both for our sakes, for the sake of our children who are trying to tell us in various ways the same thing. Our job is to allow all the energies of work and responsibility and creativity and play to be part of each other, right? To just be who we are and what we do. Some moments are going to feel more joyful and more in the flow, no matter what we're doing, whether we're
sure.
playing or working. Some moments are going to feel more stuck and a little bit challenging, or maybe a lot challenging, depending on what's happening in the moment. And joy is possible in every moment when we're looking for it and choosing it.
So let's talk about this, because I really believe what you just said, that joy is possible when we choose it. Let's talk about a difficult situation like going through a divorce. We know that particularly women who go through divorce later in life have a higher risk of certain types of cancers, of heart attack and stroke, of cardiovascular disease, of digestive problems, sleep disturbances, depression. The list goes on and on. Alcohol and drug addiction problems. The list goes on and on and on. So why or how can we start to, in the midst of all of this stuff of a divorce, go, oh, I'd like to be joyful now. Like, I can hear people already going, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're asking us to do this. What do you think about that? And how do you find these little sparks and things to do?
Yeah, my prescription for that, I had a friend who is a former doctor describe it this way as she's like, oh, this is your prescription the other day, is micro moments of play where we find things. And I think in our podcast I recommended chat gpt is a you just look up like, what are things that I can do in 5 minutes or less that are playful, that might spark my joy, right? And it'll come up with a list, with, you can tweak it, you can ask for a list, you can ask for a list of 100 if you want to, and there's bound to be at least a few things on there that you will really enjoy. So then you build those moments into your day. You keep that list with you. Maybe you set an alarm 3 times a day minimum to just randomly tell you, oh, it's time to do one of those things. It's time to, if you're in the shower, it's time to gargle with the water. That's one of my
Yeah,
That's one of my micro moments or micro doses, I call it, of play that I give myself.
I love that. And yeah,
Right.
so I have to tell you that you just all of a sudden got me thinking. I saw this online and I bought this thing. It's called 30-second dance party. Have you ever heard of this?
No,
And
I love that though.
it's this little button. It's like one of those easy button things, and you just set it on your counter and you walk by and you whack it, and it gives you like 30 seconds of dance music. And so I just dance. My dogs think I'm insane, but it's fun.
Yep.
And that really made me think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a client right now who we're just coming off of what we called our summer of play. We really had a program, where we intentionally played all summer, and she has started spontaneously just doing little dance at work behind her desk, just randomly whenever she's feeling that little down, energy drop throughout the day. She just gets up and does a little dance party, like just like you're describing.
And who cares? Like, as adults, we're so worried about what everybody else is going to think.
Yeah.
Kids just do it. They don't care.
Right. We even worry, I think, at the level, or by the time it gets to a certain point, we even worry about what we ourselves think. Like when I first started, I guess, practicing this stuff, now I'm just doing it. But when I first started practicing it, it I could be alone and feel very weird about it. I can and feel embarrassed, right? That is something that we need to like hold for ourselves. That is something that's great to have a coach like me to help hold it, uh,
Right.
help hold it, and help give ourselves that permission. That is like and that faith that even if it feels weird at first, just like anything else, you keep doing it and it doesn't feel weird in the end. And that faith comes in about like how much benefit there is on the other side of that and how much relief, how much joy is on the other side of going ahead and allowing ourselves and giving ourselves permission to do things that feel weird.
Yeah, and but the thing is it's so fun. Like I say, that little dance button thing, just it makes me laugh every time I do it. And I don't care. It's just me and the dogs in the house. It doesn't, well, the cats sometimes look, but it's just for fun. You can do, and I really loved your message that play and creativity is very individual. So it's not just the artist kind of stuff. It can be whatever you want to make it.
Yes. As far as play goes specifically, I got a lot of information about that, and you can check out Stuart Brown on the National Institutes of Play. I think you can Google National Institutes of Play. There's a lot of information there. There's a little quiz to how to find your own like play style. It's not a scientific quiz or anything like that, but it can help get you started on understanding, well, what ways do I like to play, which then opens the doors and leads to what ways can I be more creative in my life, and how do I want to express myself creatively in my life, what fits with me the best, and what ways can I stretch into.
Yeah. And so let's roll this forward, fast forward this. So you start tapping into a little bit of play and finding those micro dosages of play throughout the day when you're dealing with the stressful part of the divorce. Then for a lot of people post divorce, particularly I think for women, is a chance to come back to who you really are as a person, as opposed to being the wife, the mom, the business professional, the 101 roles you play. Now you have a chance, especially if your kids are grown up or perhaps you never had children. Now, as a single person, you have the chance to really get to know yourself. Talk about how the role of creativity and play can really help people discover who they truly, authentically are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can talk about that most deeply from my own experience. I didn't sing in public till I was 33. Then I was in a lot of other people's bands for a couple of decades, which was great. I was being creative, and one band in particular allowed me more, creative voice within that band than others. And then I also spearheaded a few projects also where my creative voice was pretty prominent. However, I did end up putting my own solo stuff out when I was 50, which was a couple of years ago. And the reason for that was some major healing needed to happen. My mother died in 2019,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
she was one of my creative champions, and she was also someone who actively, consciously, long before it was popular in any way, it was like when I was a teenager back then, she was like trying to recognize the energies and stoke the energies of play within herself. I didn't like realize all this till much later myself. But yeah, when she died, it became actually an inspiration for healing, which came through and came out of me because those creative energies had already kind of been opened. It allowed me to flow into my solo albums, which are a pure expression of who I am, the most pure, like way more pure than you're ever going to hear me as I'm talking here.
Right,
uh,
right.
yeah, way more deep and direct to like the core of myself.
And I think for women, again, because you and I mostly work with women, that there's this sense of I'm maybe a little afraid of opening that door. Like, am I off base on that one, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, as we talked a little bit about in the podcast, like it can change relationships. It can change a lot of things once we are opening the door to who we really are. I there's a whole set of friends that I that I am not really friends with anymore since all this kind of stuff happened creatively for me. And so, and yet, I mean, I'm grateful for it. Again, this is another borrow my faith thing. Yes, it can feel scary, and if there's something drawing you from your belly to do it, or your heart, go for it anyway. It will, on the other side of it, there's a lot of relief and a lot of expansion and a lot of beauty. And another thing that I was going to say about that is, ooh, uh, I don't remember.
That's okay. I do that all the time.
Yep.
If again, we talked about some of the ideas and ways that people see creativity traditionally, but you really encourage your clients to go beyond that narrow painting, writing, even music, right? Like you're encouraging people to think about creativity. And so if you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, I'd like to get back to something I used to do, but I don't really know if I want to go back to, whatever it was. How do you know, or how do you discover, or how do you find out what your creative muse is?
Yeah, that does remind me actually of what I was gonna say.
There you go.
So yeah, I had a client who came to me. This might seem like a roundabout way of answering your question, but I had a client who came to me for songwriting years ago. And then after I started this, grow your whole voice, she admitted to me that she had a novel that had been in the works for 40 years. And I think she admitted that to me, much in the same way that I admitted that I had written songs to my creative champion. I think that she admitted that to me because she was aware that I was doing this, like, yes, let's help to expand those energies. And what we ended up doing was finding whether that was truth for her, whether that 40-year novel was something that really needed to be brought to fruition. And it was, and it is one that's being brought to publishment this year. So that's one thing. However, also with the process that we did and with a few other clients, it's turned out maybe it's not that, maybe it's something else, right? So the basics map, I guess, of it is we start small, we start within, we start we start facing our fears and our vulnerabilities around this stuff, and then we move way more easily, move into the what.
Right.
We go into the why really first for ourselves, and
Yeah.
then it gets into the what, and then it gets into the how.
And this is where I think as especially if you're a person divorcing with children, we have to be really super careful to protect our kids during this process. And one of the things that I think that we could do to help them after talking with you is as a single mom or as a single dad, we need to creatively engage with our kids, like play with them, like not just sit there when they're playing and be on your phone or doing whatever and they're in the same room, but get down on the floor, play with the Legos, or, if they're teenagers, like if they're into art or whatever, drawing or whatever they're into, participate with them and be vulnerable and share your experience. How do you feel kids and adults interact with that plaything? What's your thoughts on that?
It's mostly by example, just like everything else. I was just doing a homeschooler podcast. I was a guest on a podcast of homeschooling parents, and yeah, the more than ever when we're in the middle of a divorce or a rough transition, the kids need to see our example of choosing joy. They need to see our example of making the making the moments work, even if they don't totally work. They need to see us choosing it. I'm not even going to say trying it, but they need to see us choosing to do that.
Right.
And yeah, and that by example, especially, and when they're younger, we can lead them into certain things. We can lead them into activities sometimes, depending on who they are, what their personalities are, and we can let them lead us as well. It needs to be reciprocal and go both ways on that. And by the time they get to be teenagers, many of them might not want us to be leading them in any way whatsoever.
Right,
So
right.
we are actually by that time only leading by example most of the time.
So I hope that inspired you to maybe try something that you haven't done in a while, maybe get out and be a little bit creative. And most importantly, I think what Jenny talks about that really hits home for me is that we have to look for ways to instill joy and positivity and creativity into our lives on our own. No one else is going to do this for us. And if we can just take those little steps to become more creative, to become the person we wanted to be, the person we dreamed about being as a little kid, there are elements of this that we can bring into our adult life, whether we're 50, 40, 30, 70, I don't care. I think the message here is really universal, that even in difficult times, we are in control of our lives. And the more I study and the more I learn and the more I take courses and learn about the human mind and emotional regulation and how we have the agency to be able to put ourselves in states or moods that are positive, I think that we all need to work on this. This is something we can all do. We don't have to be what other people tell us we have to be. And if you want to be creative, if you want to sing, it doesn't matter if you don't sound like, it doesn't matter if you don't sound like Taylor Swift or Shania Twain. That's the name I was going for. You can still get out there and sing. You can still paint. You can still find joy. You can be creative in your garden. You can be creative in your cooking. You can be creative in the way that you organize and run meetings at your workplace. And you can certainly be creative in creating a new life for yourself during and after divorce. Thanks for sharing your time with me on Undoing We. If this episode resonated with you, be sure to share it with a friend and don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you're looking for some more support, be sure to grab my guide, 5 Strategies for Better Communication During Divorce and Other Life Transitions. The link is going to be in the show notes. And remember, no matter what you do today, do something special for yourself because you deserve it.